Here's how to make professional looking drapes even if you're a beginner at sewing. Hey there, it's Christina from the DIYmommy.com. There are two things that I love to sew, and they are drapes and pillows. And I think between those two home decor accents, you can completely change the look of your space. Even if you have only picked up the sewing machine a few times, I think that you can make these drapes. I think they look so professional and designer quality. They have a pinch pleat up top, and truly they only require straight seams. So they're fantastic for a beginner seamstress. If you don't have a sewing machine, you could borrow one from a friend or family member, or make this a fun afternoon with one of your friends and sew up some drapes for your home. I'm gonna be sharing how I made these floral ones for my breakfast nook to give it kind of a cottagecore granny chic style, and I'll show you the final look at the very end. Let's get started. For this DIY, you're going to need some drapery fabric, some pleater tape, curtain rings with hooks, curtain hooks for pleater tapes, a hard ruler and or a square, a measuring tape, scissors, an iron, ironing board, stick pins, a sewing machine, and some thread. To determine how much drapery fabric you'll need, first decide on how tall you'd like each curtain panel to be. I like to make my drapes nice and tall and have them relatively close to the ceiling and touching the floor. For these drapes I'm making here, I've decided to have them rest an inch above the floor so that I can easily clean my breakfast nook floor beneath them. Once you've figured out the height you want your drapes to be, add about 7 inches to that height to account for the top hem, bottom hem, and the space between the hooks and the top of the drape. I will leave the printable and readable instructions for this DIY down in the description box below. To find the width of your drapes, multiply the width of your window by 2 to account for the pleating. You may have to sew 2 pieces of fabric together vertically to achieve the width that you need. For my drapes, I'm using the full width of fabric to make more narrow drapery panels for my breakfast nook. These are more decorative than functional in my space, so I don't actually need them to close fully over my window. My favorite type of fabric for window treatments is a heavy cotton or a cotton linen blend. If you search decor fabric on a site like fabric.com or onlinefabricstore.net, you're going to find lots of options. I wanted to make some over-the-top floral drapes in shades that complemented my kitchen, so I'm using this Robert Allen fabric I found at onlinefabricstore.net. I've purchased 12 yards to make 4 8-foot-long curtain panels with a little extra to sew some pillow covers. Begin your project by cutting your curtain panels. Use a measuring tape to mark where you need to cut your fabric at 3 points, and then use a square or a hard ruler to connect those points and make sure that the line is nice and square to the sides of the fabric. This measurement will be your finished curtain height plus 7 inches. You may need to cut 2 pieces and sew them together vertically if you want to create wider drapes than what I'm making here. Next, turn the 2 vertical edges of the fabric panels under a 1/2 inch and press with an iron. Turn them under another 1/2 inch and press again. I like to use my iron on the cotton setting with a steam function to get nice, sharply pressed hems. Then you'll need to press the top hem. Find the top of the curtain panel by looking for a top graphic on your fabric, or by ensuring that any patterns on your fabric are pointing the way that you'd like them to hang. Fold the top under 1/2 inch and press, and then fold it under 4 inches and press again. This will be where you will be sewing the pleater tape later. Now it's time to press the curtain panel bottom hem. Fold this under a 1/2 inch and press, and then fold it under a 1 inch and press again. You can pin down all of your hems with stick pins if you like. Now thread your sewing machine with a cotton thread suitable for drapery. I'm not going to go in exactly how to set up a machine from start to finish, but I do have a friend called Farmhouse on Boone. She has a YouTube channel and she has a lot of sewing tutorials for beginners, so definitely go check that out. I'll leave a link to her channel down in that description box below. Now you're going to stitch along the side hems of your drapery panel. Make sure to backstitch at the top and bottom of your hem to keep it secure. So that's when you go backwards with your sewing machine by pressing a button on the side and then go forwards again. You can use the markings beneath your presser foot to help keep your sewing line nice and straight. I personally recommend using a longer stitch for sewing drapery. On my machine, that's a number 4 stitch. Once you've sewn the side seams of your panel, you can stitch down the top seam. Stitch about a 1/4 inch away from the fold of the hem, making sure to backstitch again at the beginning and the end. At this point, you can sew the bottom hem, or you can leave it open to stitch after you test the height of your drapes at the end. I chose to stitch them at this point because I was pretty confident with the length of my fabric. Now take the pleater tape and fold it under about a 1/2 inch or to where the first open loop is. Pin this to the back of your top hem, centering it within the hem. Make sure that you can insert your hooks into the loops and don't sew that tape on upside down. Trim the tape about a 1/2 inch from the end of your drapery panel and fold it under another 1/2 inch and pin it in place. Next, sew the pleater tape to the top hem with your sewing machine, following the stitch guides on the tape. Again, make sure to backstitch at the beginning and the end to keep those stitches secure. It's now time to insert the curtain hooks. You can play with how pleated you want your drapes to look by having more or less loops in between each hook. For my drapes, I put one side of my hook in the first loop of the pleater tape, counted 5 loops, and then inserted the next side of the hook in the next loop. I left 1 loop free and then repeated this pattern with more hooks. After you've inserted all of your hooks, you can attach the clips to the rings and attach those to the hooks. I found all of my hooks and clips and rings at IKEA.
Now it's time to hang your drapes. I find it easiest to take my rod right down from my wall and insert it through the rings of the drapes. Then I lift the whole drape up and put the rod back into the brackets on the wall. If you haven't hemmed your curtain panel yet, you can now check to see where it's hitting the floor and determine the size of hem you'll need. Take your drape down, press and sew the hem, and complete your DIY pleated drapes. Once you've hung up your drapes, you might need to sort of train your drapes where they're going to pleat. So I just take my hand and use it to press those pleats in place. You can also use a steamer if you want a more formal look, but I like a little bit more of a casual look, so I'm not going to steam my curtains. I love how these over-the-top floral drapes turned out. They're such an easy project to sew. I would definitely recommend giving these a try. Even if you're new at sewing, you can create some custom looking drapes that look absolutely amazing and completely match the style of your home. With the scraps of fabric that I had left, I was also able to sew these really pretty zippered top pillow covers. If you want the tutorial for these, I will link that in the description box below. It's also another really easy beginner-friendly project.
Thank you so much for watching this video today. I hope you enjoyed this drape sewing tutorial. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and also if you have any of your own drape sewing tips you want to share, I would love to hear those down in the comments below as well. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more DIY and decor ideas on a budget. I'm going to leave some more videos that I hope you will love to watch next right up here.